Hi, okay, in this video I want to say a little bit more about the bar plot. So a bar plot is really useful to visually depict the frequency of like a categorical or ordinal variable. So let's inspect one of those variables. So for instance, I have the variable country in my data set. That means that country is just a variable where, it's a character and that's the words de are in the first one, which stands for Germany. So here you see indeed when I click on this blue button that for country is a character and these are the first observations. Now let's see how many there are in my data set. I run a table and I see over 1,500 people are from Germany, over 1,200 from Tunisia. Now let's go to the bar plot. So the only thing that the bar plot function does is to visually depict the frequencies. So the inside of the function, right, this part, is not the variable itself, but the frequency table. Yeah, so be aware of that. Okay, so here we go. This is basically the bar plot. So you see now visually as well that there's more people in Germany than in Tunisia. Now, the neat thing about the bar plot is that you can actually also do it stacked. So what it means to create a stacked bar plot? Well, before we just use a single table on a frequency table on a single variable, but you can actually also do this. And let me just find the variable. Yes. So here we have a variable where, this is the country, and then a second variable also has 4 levels. Yeah, so if we now run a table on these 2 variables with a comma in between, it means that the function then knows that you don't want like 2 single tables. No, you want to have like the cross tabulation. Yeah, and that's what you see here. So there's 2 rows for the first variable and then 4 columns for the second variable. So now you can really start to compare the countries. Yeah, you see that in Germany there's more people with level 2 and in Tunisia there's more people in level 4. Now, let's do the same thing as before and move this inside the function of the bar plot. Now, as you can see, we can now see for each level of this variable of Q4, we can see how many belong to the first and second country. Now, one thing that you might want to be aware of is that this table, the plot, will change dramatically if you use a different ordering. So here we have a cross tab where the countries are the columns. If we now create a table, then you see that it's a little bit harder to read because the first level already is higher in Germany and then the second level as well. But the third level seems to be very similar, but it's harder to compare, right? Because it's both the frequencies, so they are not measured at the same scale. Now, that's why you always have to think very carefully on what variable is placed first in the cross tabulation, on the rows or on the columns. Now, one more thing that I would like to show you is that you might want to use this table a little bit differently. So now you see on top of one another. Well, in this case, it's very clear that this country has much more on level 4 and this one much more in level 2, but sometimes it's not that clear. So then you might want to have, instead of on top of, so stacked, to have it next to one another. And that's the beside is true. So I just put T, but you can also fully say true. Now it's very clear that level 2 and level 4 are very different between the countries, while the other 2 levels are very similar. Yeah, so this is the bar plot.